Hi there. Today I want to talk to you about being an elder. And elder is a term that means more than just being old. So we need more elders, not just older people. We all know that we're aging. As we age, we can step into elderhood, but do we necessarily or are we automatically? No. Growing old is automatic. Becoming an elder is intentional. And that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about today. And as we have talked about in previous lives here, there is a lot of focus we can bring to this stage in life as gay men. And one of them is this notion of, well, how do we become elders? And when we are part of a community where a lot of those folks, those men who would be our elders right now, succumb to the AIDS crisis in the 80s and 90s, a lot of those people who would be elders and be emulating all of these amazing things for us at this stage in life, a lot of them are gone. And the ones that remain, we don't see enough of them. So we don't have role models in terms of what eldership looks like for gay men. And I think this is important, an important conversation to have, and important to start stepping into those roles. And how we do this, I would suggest, is again using that word intentional by design. We want to decide, well, what's this going to look like? We can follow models that are out there in the heteronormative world around eldership, but maybe we can also create our own versions of what elder looks like. What does a gay elder look like? So I think there are some elements that we can address that would be considered, I think, acceptable by all in terms of, well, who qualifies you as an elder? One conversation I had with an activist who was very involved in activism during the AIDS crisis when that was all coming to a head in the 80s and through the 90s, um, had very much I think a view that eldership necessarily required that you have those activist roots, right? And I think definitely some elders are activists and have been activists, but I think there's other elders too, other ways that people can have or embrace that notion of being an elder. And is it something that we take on individually, or is it something that's bequeathed to us, given to us by those around us? Is it part of, like we talked about yesterday, legacy? I don't think so. I think it's something that we step into again intentionally. So a big component of that is wisdom. So this thing that we're creating here is the wisdom trust, because it's my firm belief that as we enter this stage in life, we've experienced and had so many different kind of life occurrences, some good, some bad, some indifferent. But from all of those experiences, we've acquired knowledge, we've acquired intelligence, and ideally, we've acquired some wisdom. And that wisdom needs to be shared. So, showing up in terms of how we present to the world the wisdom that we have, that to me is what eldership is about. And there's a number of different ways that that can be done. It also involves something around presence. And if you think of someone that you would refer to as an elder, in the most respectful way, not in, oh, they're older than me, but an elder in the, yes, I really respect and admire that person. Probably one of the attributes that would come up is they have a certain presence. They have, a gravitas around being able to hold a space, being able to bring you in to their energy field in a really welcoming and inviting way, like in a heartfelt kind of way, if you will. So that presence can be really a strong attribute of eldership. There's also, I would think, a generosity of spirit. So, generosity in terms of being willing to share their life stories, willing to share, the challenges that they've overcome, willing to share how they've been impacted by life and how they've been able to impact others in life. that generosity, that free will to give is part of what eldership can look like. And clearly there's the mentoring aspect. I actually talked to some guys doing this outreach for the Wisdom Trust who are doing that very thing. They're mentoring younger people, whether it's in the same career path that they were in, or the same sort of business models that they were in, that sort of thing. But it can even be more broad than that. Like my journey has been for 25 to 30 years in spiritual work, and so I like to mentor people who are just starting to explore, or somewhere in their exploration of that, with respect to my experience and what I can lend my wisdom to, in terms of helping them maybe navigate that exploration of their spiritual growth. So mentoring, formal or less formal, and ongoing, or just mentoring in the moment, that's part of eldership. Like saying something really powerful to that curious mind that's kind of maybe trying to figure something out, and you drop a nugget in there in that moment, that might be something they hold for the rest of their life. That's eldership. Also curiosity, and curiosity fascinates me because I'm a bit of a projects guy. Like I like to be working on projects, and so I'm always curious about what could I be doing differently or better that would facilitate my life, or make the work that I'm doing richer and more beneficial to those who are receiving it. But curiosity can look like many things. It can look like, well, how am I being a friend to someone? Is there something that I could do differently? How can I make new connections and friendships? Using a curiosity in terms of, well, what might that look like? How could it be different than it was in the past? Being curious about the whole aging journey, and how that gets to be formed and shaped. And rather than just letting it happen to us, being curious about how are we going to navigate that, and what is it going to look like, and being, again, intentional about that. Combining curiosity and intentionality, I think, is a hugely powerful cocktail of moving forward in life. And here's one that I think probably many of us in the gay world could benefit from a little bit more, and could exert a little bit more, and that is compassion. you know, a lot of us, and it's really no fault of our own, can be kind of assholes, right? Because we've had to be strong, we've had to fight, we've had, to deal with the harassment, the name calling, we've had to deal with the blatant discrimination, we've had to deal with the hostility, of the general population in many respects. And just when we think we're making big strides, then there's this big pendulum shift, and there's all this reactionary stuff yet again. So, no fault of our own that sometimes we can be a little bit cranky, crusty, bitchy, call it what you will. But if we can bring a little bit more compassion, I think it starts with our own selves first. I'm putting my hand on my heart because that's where it is. Like if we can drop into our hearts more and be kinder to ourselves internally, in terms of the thoughts that we're creating, recognizing if we're in negative spirals, stopping those, going, no, thank you for those thoughts, moving on. Um, Compassion for ourselves, and then that will start to ripple outwards. And that is a beautiful part of eldership. So an elder who exudes compassion is someone that a lot of people are going to want to be around, learn from, or just experience or hear about even. Um, so there's something really rich and wonderful about what we can do right now as folks, gay men over 50. That's who I'm speaking to here. The rest of you are listening, that's great. But how can we collectively start to have these conversations? How can we individually start to show up in that elder role, from those places of wisdom, presence, generosity, mentoring, curiosity, and, for the love of God, or whoever, universe, Allah, whoever, that bigger thing is for you, compassion. The world is needing more compassion right now, more kindness. We need to take on the battles and fight the fights, but we have to do that from that place of wholeness first. If we're coming at it broken and angered and filled with vitriol and rage, it just feeds the machine. And so if we can, even from an elder point of view, what does pushing back from an elder's point of view look like, right? Because we do need to push back. We're not going to take all the stuff that's being thrown at us sitting down, but maybe elders in our community, which we're speaking about becoming, will play bigger and stronger roles in defending who we are and our rights and our lives. So I'm going to leave you with another reflection question today. Who helped shape the person you've become, and how might you pass that gift on to someone else? Who helped shape the person you've become, and how might you pass that gift on to someone else? Give that some thought and go ahead and share in the comments, have a conversation with a friend, do what you need to do. But let's move this conversation about eldership forward. Join the Wisdom Trust community, because this is one of the things that we're actively talking about. All right.